Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make this patty. It is a beef and broccoli patty. The crust is vegan, so you can also customize the filling to be vegan and make it completely vegan. It is also gluten-free, refined sugar-free, all the good stuff. So sit back, relax, and let's get into making this broccoli beef patty. Alright, so per usual, we're going to start with putting together the dry ingredients. And the first dry ingredient is cassava flour. I'm going to be using a cup of cassava flour. And next up is millet flour. I'm using this Bob's Red Mill brand, but you can use whatever brand of millet flour that floats your boat. I'm also going to be using 1 cup of millet flour. And then last but not the least, the final flour that we'll be using is tapioca starch. And we're going to be using just half a cup of that. And then it's time to put in baking powder. We're going to be using 1¾ teaspoon of baking powder. And this, by the way, is to make the crust, right? The crust for the patty that we're going to fill in with the broccoli beef filling. And then also 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And then on to the wet ingredients, which is oil. I'm using avocado oil, and I'm using just 2 tablespoons of avocado oil. Actually, more like 1¾ tablespoon, but yeah, 1 to 2 tablespoons of avocado oil. And then I'm going to mix that a bit before I put in water to form the dough. And then we're going to start with the process of putting in the water bit by bit until we form the perfect dough for our patty. All right, so when you have your dough formed, you let it rest for a while, for a couple of minutes before you spread it out. I'm going to use that time to get the filling ready. And like I said, this is going to be a broccoli beef patty. So for the broccoli, we're going to puree that. Well, not puree, we're going to put that in a food processor to process a bit, chop it up so it's easier to handle and use as a filling for the patty. Once that is ready, we're going to put the broccoli aside. And for the beef, I'm using 16 ounces of grass-fed beef. Okay, so we're going to put this on the stove top with some oil, of course, a little oil to help in stir frying the broccoli. And then after that has been stir fried for a little bit, then I'm going to put in the grass-fed ground beef. But if you want to make this vegan, you can just put in more vegetables or whatever filling you want to put into it. You can have fun with it and customize it to your taste. But I am putting in my 16 ounces of grass-fed beef at this point, as well as my seasoning, salt, pepper, curry, my homemade seasonings. Mix it all up together and stir fry to get it ready and prepped as a filling for my patty. Just decreasing the heat a little bit there so I have more control over the stir frying process. And when everything is properly browned and cooked, then it is ready Then you can set it aside and let it cool for a bit while you roll out your dough that you're going to fill in this filling into. Alright, so the filling is ready. We're going to go back to that dough that has been resting and roll it out. Because this is a gluten-free vegan dough, you have to be very careful to make sure that it doesn't break, it comes together the way you want it. So the way I'm doing this is by rolling out the dough between two parchment paper. That way it rolls out evenly, it rolls out well. You're going to see me do that, yeah, right here. Put parchment paper below, put parchment paper on top, and then roll out the dough. So this is going to be the base of the dough for the patty. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the top of the dough of the patty. And just in order to make this come out good, make sure that it comes out whole, there's no breakage or anything like that, due to how finicky this crust tends to be, I'm going to, well, you see what I'm going to do, but I'm actually going to make all the patties at once as opposed to dividing them up into individual patties. Okay, so this is the base right now, and then after setting that aside on the baking pan, then I'm going to get the top ready, the top of the patty. And this is going to make a couple of patties, about 5, all right? So it's not just for one, but like I said, I'm not dividing them up to make sure I have good control over what I'm baking and it doesn't break when I try to lift it up. Once it's baked, the texture is fine, then you can handle it however you want and eat it however you want. It's just when prepping it that you really need to be careful. So this is the top of the dough that I'm getting ready for that patty, right? I need to get it in about roughly the same shape as the bottom, since you're going to put it over the bottom of the dough that you rolled out initially. Okay, so up next we're going to put in the filling inside the dough. Like I said, this is going to make about 5 patties, so just put that in there. I'm not dividing it up separately until after it's baked, but I will, as you will see, I will use like a knife to score it down properly so that the divisions between each patty is clear. Again, this is all just to work with our dough here, because it's vegan, it's gluten free, no eggs, no gluten, so we really need to work with it to make sure that it comes out good. All right, and after doing that, then we put the top layer on top of the bottom layer, you know, do all that work to make sure there is no breakage and it comes out as good as possible. Yeah. Alright, so this was as good as I could get it, which is pretty good. At this point, I'm just going to work on the top so that it covers the bottom perfectly, and then score out each division for the patty, which will help me when it's ready to easily break it up, because we're going to break it up after as opposed to before. So tuck in all those corners, trim off excess paper from the baking pan. And then I'm going to use a knife to section out each patty. So you see the way I'm sectioning it out this way, it makes it easy when the baking process is complete to separate each patty and to know what is what. Having done that, I'm going to use a fork to seal the edges. It also gives it a nice aesthetic when the patty is ready. Yep, so use the fork to seal the edges all around. Make sure that that knife clearly separates where each patty is. Okay. And then use oil to brush the top of the dough so it comes out nice and golden brown. Some people use egg wash as opposed to using oil, but this is a vegan crust, so no egg wash. So I'm just using oil to give it that shine, and then it's ready to bake at 350 degrees for 45 minutes, after which your broccoli beef patty is ready. Ta-da! All right, and then because we scored it really nice with that knife before we put it in the oven, it's so easy to break apart each patty easily. Well, relatively easily. Okay. That center one has, I feel like, the most beef in it. But yeah, that is how you make your patty. Easily customizable to make vegan. If you're craving a patty, you want it to be vegan, this is the recipe for you. Look at that lovely crust, that lovely filling. Give this a try, guys. Let me know how it goes for you. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Till the next one, guys. Thank you for watching, and bye.